Chapter 5 A New Member of the Family. Over Canterbury, Commander Pot insisted on circling the tall tower of the cathedral so that the jackdaws and the pigeons flew out of their nooks and crannies, squawking and cooing with fright and excitement. And then they headed over the trees and the woods, taking a shortcut away from the crowded Dover Road toward the distant majesty of Dover Castle, with its Union Jack flying from the topmost tower. And, of course, at that speed, in minutes they were over the castle, and again Commander Pot insisted on circling around so that the family, and Chitty Bang Bang for the matter of fact, could get a good look. And all of the soldiers drilling on the square inside the castle walls looked up, much to the rage of their sergeant major, and the sentries too. And, between me and you, I think Chitty Bang Bang was lucky to get away without being shot at by the soldiers, because after all, she had no proper aircraft markings, and only her genie registration plates. And for all the soldiers knew, she might have been some kind of new foreign aeroplane come to attack the castle, or even a flying bomb, which was really quite what she looked like. But all went well, and they flew on up to the coast, looking for a place to land to have their picnic beside the sparkling blue sea. But everywhere, St. Margaret's Bay, Walmer, Deal, Sandwich, Ramsgate, all the beaches were crowded with families who had had the same idea as the Pot family, and Chitty Bang Bang's passengers became more and more gloomy as they saw the beautiful sands with their bathers and paddlers and shrimpers, and the rock pools that were certainly crawling with exciting crabs and eels and valuable shells, all crowded with rival holidaymakers. And they all longed for a bathe, and to unpack the bulging picnic basket full of Mimsy's delicious goodies. Then a curious thing happened. The steering wheel twisted, actually twisted, in Commander Pot's hands, as if Chitty Bang Bang realized their disappointment and was looking to control herself. And do you know what? Chitty Bang Bang turned away from the coast and soared away over the English Channel, straight out to sea. The family fairly held their breath with excitement, and Commander Pot wrestled with the wheel and began to look rather nervous. But then the green light on the dashboard began to blink, and now, instead of saying pull down, as it had said before, it said push up. And gently, Commander Pot pushed up the little silver ladder, and gently, Chitty Bang Bang began to lose height, and the plane went softly downwards. "Heavens!" cried Mimsy. "She's going to drop us in the sea! Now we really are in a mess. Get ready to swim, everyone. I'm sure the cushions will float. Each one hang on to a cushion. The Deal lifeboat will see us, and if we keep afloat, we'll be all right." "Don't worry, Mimsy darling," shouted Commander Pot against the roar of the wind. "It'll be all right. I think I know what Chitty Bang Bang has got in mind. Look there, where we're heading for. Those are the Goodwin Sands. Acres of beautiful sand that get uncovered during a low tide like this. Why, in summer, they even have a football match on the sands. Dover and Deal play each other and get the game over before the tide comes in. Then they row away in boats. And there's the famous South Goodwin Lightship. It's got one of the loudest foghorns in the world, and a great revolving light to warn the ships away. See the masts of the sunken wrecks sticking up all along the edge of the sands? There's probably more ships that have been sunk on those sands from Roman times on than on any other dangerous rock or reef or sands or shoals in the world. All through the ages, it's been a regular graveyard for ships." "Any chance of finding treasure?" asked Jeremy excitedly. "I'm afraid there's not a hope," said Commander Pot sadly. "Whenever there's a shipwreck in the Goodwins, particularly on a dark or foggy night, when of course most of the shipwrecks happen, wreck burglars. They have been known as wreckers since the olden times. They swarm out from the coast in their sailing ships. They don't use motorboats so as to be silent as possible, and not warn the men on the lightship, who might otherwise radio for the Royal Cutter Navy or MTB to come out from Dover and arrest the wreckers and put on a guard aboard the wreck. Why, these wreckers come slipping softly out and stealing everything they can find. Or they just simply strip the wreck ship of all of its cargo and everything movable, and then silently steal away before dawn. So then, when the official salvage craft and tugs put out from Dover in the morning to save what they can, and perhaps even try to pull the ship off the sands, they find an empty house, so to speak. The wreckers, the sea burglars, have stripped her down as clean as a plucked chicken. And of course, when the police go to hunting all along the coast for the wreckers, no one knows anything about it. And there isn't a sign of the loot, because it's all been rushed off inland to hideouts by the wreckers' lorries that have been called up by secret. And that's how it goes. Just the same as in the bad old days when the wreckers used to shift buoys and warning lights at night to guide ships onto the shoals and rocks. That was centuries ago. But the rascals are still at it. Dangerous work, of course, putting out from a coast in a sloop or a cutter in the thick fog or a storm. But these wrecker burglars are tough, bad men, and they're ready to take a chance in exchange for a fat cargo of fine meat and butter from Denmark, or radios and television sets from Germany, or even sometimes bars of gold being shipped over to an English bank. While Commander Pot had been telling these exciting things, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang had been planing gently down toward the big expanse of beautiful golden sand, lapped at by the soft blue ripples of the English Channel, and fringed by the masts of the half-sunken hulls and wrecks that show up at the low tide. The crew of the brightly painted lightship came up on deck and waved excitedly at them as they soared low overhead, and then, as the green light went on the dashboard, went on winking, and Commander Pot gently took his foot off the accelerator, the wheels automatically lowered themselves into position again, and they came in to land on the hard, flat, golden surface. The aerocar ran a little way on the sand, and then, as Commander Pot put on the brakes, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang came to a gentle stop at the edge of the sea. At once, the red light on the dashboard showed up again, and now it said, "Push up." No idiot this time. Commander Pot pushed the little silver lever, and there came the same low hum as the front and back wings slowly folded back to become mudguards again, and the big propeller and generator out front slipped back in until the two halves of the radiator closed over them. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang gave a last two big sneezes, two soft bangs, and then Commander Pot switched off the engine, and there was a perfectly good, gleaming green car sitting quietly on the huge sandbank in the middle of the sea. The whole family let out a big poof of relief and excitement and piled out of the magical car onto the warm sand. Then, before they even got into their bathing things and began exploring, all the family, of one accord, went up and patted Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's warm silver bonnet, just as if she'd been alive, and they all said, "Thank you, dear Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. You're a real marvel." And do you know? Chitty Chitty Bang Bang seemed to let out a long sort of metallic sigh of contentment, which I expect was really only a little steam escaping from the hot radiator, and her big gleaming headlights seemed to dip slightly in modesty and shyness, just as Jemima's eyes do when she's complimented on doing particularly well at her lessons, or her dancing class, or singing a song, or Jeremy's when he wins a prize for lessons or games. Then the whole family made a dash to change into their bathing things, and after they had all swum about like dolphins and clambered about among the wrecks, where Jeremy found some quite interesting bits of machinery, and Jemima discovered an old compass that Commander Pot said he could easily clean up and repair, they sat down round Mimsy's hamper in the middle of the sands, and between them They ate up every single hard-boiled egg, every single cold sausage, and every single strawberry jam puff. And then, happy and contented, they all lay down in the sunshine, and, drowsy and full of good things, and really quite exhausted with all the excitement of the day, one by one they dozed off for a little rest before doing some more swimming and hunting for treasures. But, 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 no one noticed that the tide was creeping over the sands. No one noticed that the masts of the wrecks were getting lower in the water. No one heard the glug, glug, glug of the sea quietly, softly, flowing into the half-sunken hulls of the wrecked ships. And no one, not one of the dozing family, noticed that the wheels of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang were slowly, inch by inch, being submerged by the incoming tide. And no one realized that soon, very soon, the whole family, Commander Pot, Mimsy, Jeremy, and Jemima, and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, who by now was really a member of the family too, would be marooned out in the middle of the sea, threatened with mortal danger.